Maybe he did, maybe he didn't.
Please, America, don't go down the road entitled impeachment. It's the wrong way to go.
Hello.
How are you?
Fine, thank you. How you doing?
Good, I'm Colin. All right.
A federal judge has ordered the Trump administration to release more than 100 Iraqis it's been trying to deport for more than 6 months. Family members have been protesting to demand their release. And today, Michigan District Judge Mark Goldsmith agreed, admonishing the government for failing to comply with court orders and submitting false declarations. Interpol votes on its new leader tomorrow, and activists are speaking out about one of the frontrunners, Russia's former Interior Minister Alexander Prokopchuk. Bill Browder, a prominent Kremlin critic, says that ever since he lobbied for legislation that led to U.S. sanctions on Russian diplomats, he's become a target of Prokopchuk, who's repeatedly attempted to get Interpol to issue a warrant for Browder's arrest.
No more inappropriate country to have any type of leadership position at Interpol than Russia.
Around 10,000 protesters blocked roads across France in the fourth day of demonstrations against the government's tax on fuel, and they're calling for a blockade of Paris this weekend. More than 500 people have been injured and 1 person killed in the so-called Yellow Vest protests. The French government says the taxes are necessary to wean the country off fossil fuels. Yesterday, Airbnb announced its plan to remove all listings in the occupied West Bank. Today, Israel's government is threatening Airbnb with high taxes and calling on affected hosts to sue the company.
I do believe that it is a double standard that is taken only against Israel, only against Jews who live here.
We put out a statement on Saudi Arabia, which I guess most of you have seen, and we'll see how that all works out. It's America first for me. It's all about America first.
President Trump spent the day trying to articulate and then defend his view of Jamal Khashoggi's murder. In an impromptu press conference this afternoon, he stood by a longer written statement he'd released in the morning that said that while the Saudi crown prince might have known about the killing,
maybe he did, maybe he didn't.
Trump really doesn't care. He's less interested in Saudi morals than Saudi money.
They're buying hundreds of billions of dollars worth of things from this country. If I say we're going to cut it off, they will get the equipment, military equipment and other things from Russia and China.
In the written statement, Trump also went out of his way to excuse Saudi Arabia's brutal air campaign in Yemen, a war that he blames on Iran's support for the Houthi rebels. The fighting has already killed tens of thousands of people, and, according to the UN, at least 1,300 children.
لا أصحابي بعضهم هنية مرجمين وبعضهم خلف مرجمين وناس في كل مكان. قمت أصحابي مقطع بعضهم استشهدوا أربعة ولا.
At 8:20 a.m. on a Thursday in August, an airstrike hit a bus carrying school children on a busy road in Dahiyan, a farming village in northwest Yemen. 11-year-old Hussein Al-Ajri was on that bus.
كان جالس هني أنا كان جالس واحد هني يا أصحابي واحد هني واحد هني ودي هني يجرحوا بعضهم هذي كلهم هذي عند تجرحوا بعد ما حصل الصاروخ قمت شلت نفسي وخرجت من هنا خرجت من بين حدائق ما استطعت أخرج نفسي رجع خرج الطمر من هنا ورجع أدوس راح يشلوني وأسعفوني بعد.
The kids were on a field trip organised by their Islamic seminary on a pit stop at a market buying snacks. The Saudi-led coalition initially said this was a targeted attack on the Houthis in retaliation for a rebel strike the night before. But of the 54 people killed, 45 were children between the ages of 15 and 6. 3 weeks later, the coalition admitted that the timing was a mistake.
طفل وهذا رجل وشظايا لمها وحصلناهم وعاد في قطع لحم. هذه أهداف سلمان.
At this funeral for the boys killed, outrage isn't only directed at the Saudis, who've launched more than 18,000 airstrikes in 3 years. The Houthi war cry calls out the main supplier. Witnesses found a Mark 82 bomb made by Lockheed Martin, an American company, as identified here by this cage code. Activists on the ground have documented at least 13 airstrikes since 2015 that used American weapons to kill innocent bystanders. The Khashoggi affair has forced some US lawmakers to reckon with the role that American intelligence, mid-air refueling, and billions of dollars in arms sales has played in civilian deaths.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الله أحد الله الصمد.
Hussein lives with his uncles. At their local cemetery, there's now 30 child-sized graves right next to his dad's. He was killed 2 years ago by another airstrike.
يعني أنا وصلت عنده بنصدق أو أكذب إنه خرج من الحافلة وأن كان في الحافلة. فإذا بحسين جريح على الكرسي صرنا عنده الحمد لله. بالنسبة للجراحة كان أخف جراح، غيرت طبيعته، غيرت المودية، أصبح عصبي، طبيعته ضيقة محسوسة.
While American politicians 7,000 miles away debate involvement in the war and their alliance with the Saudis, the Al-Ajaris are a reminder of the cost.
"20 years ago this fall, America was obsessed with an investigation of a sitting president accused of lurid misdeeds. And a House of Representatives controlled by the opposition went on to impeach the president over what the investigation found. 20 years later, the man who led that investigation is out with a new memoir, and his expertise is suddenly back in demand. Vice News sat down with Ken Starr in Palm Beach to talk about what's different and what isn't this time around.
There's all this talk of the Mueller report, that it might even somehow look like the Starr report. And I'm hoping you can explain kind of your thoughts on that.
I'm not sure, to be honest, what to expect. What I do know is that the regulations under which he was appointed do not contemplate a fulsome kind of report. All things considered, I think there will be a report that is sent by the Attorney General, the acting Attorney General, to Congress. And I think it will tell us the story of what he found. It's not required, so there was a dialing back from the independent counsel reporting requirements that required the independent counsel to report directly to the House of Representatives, and a pretty low threshold with no guidance as to how fulsome, how complete the report should be. But in the public interest, I have a feeling the Attorney General will feel, based on his consultation with incoming Senate Judiciary Chairman Lindsey Graham, the Attorney General would be very wise, I believe, to heed whatever advice Senator Lindsey Graham, soon-to-be Chairman Lindsey Graham, offers.
Do you see any room to be concerned about the White House's approach toward the Mueller investigation?
Oh, yes. Yes, no, because I think the Mueller investigation must be protected, allowed to finish its course. But there seems to be a difference in what the president says and then what the president does.
I would agree with you until the appointment of Attorney General Whitaker. It seems like that was action as opposed to tweeting.
I agree with that. But the key is, it's clear that the president lacks confidence in Rod Rosenstein,
Right.
but he hasn't fired him.
Right.
But now he appoints someone who he has confidence in. But we haven't seen Whitaker interfere with the Mueller investigation, and that's what remains to be seen. If he did, I think there's going to be hell to pay.
But tell me about that hell to pay. What sort of guardrails do you see functioning at that point?
If he does something untoward, the Senate will find some way to express itself. And of course, we have a House soon to be controlled by the other party. And the House has weapons as well. So I don't want to fan the flames. Please, America, don't go down the road entitled impeachment. It's the wrong way to go. We've had 2 presidential impeachments, neither has succeeded. One was entirely political, but now we know from the Clinton investigation that the president can even be proven to have committed crimes, but unless there's a close nexus with the conduct of the office itself, even a federal criminal can continue to occupy the office of the presidency in the view of the American people.
It seems to be that you're implying that impeachment is better suited for national security issues when the underlying issue is a national security issue.
Well, I would add to that, though, one of the constitutionally enumerated offenses, which is bribery. So that's just, you have used your power in order to enrich yourself, right? And of course, treason is the sort of ultimate crime against the state, right? I think the American people have this wise instinct for stability. And let's allow the electoral process to go forward.
In terms of the appointment of Matt Whitaker, there is a lot of suspicion that his main qualification for the job were his public statements that were critical of the investigation. If that were the reason that Trump put him in power, would you see that as highly improper?
Not improper in any legal sense. It becomes then a political question. The president, under the law, has that prerogative under the Vacancies Act. So I think Congress might be well advised to relook at the Vacancies Act.
Would it be an abuse of power to limit the Mueller investigation?
It might be. It might be. It would obviously depends on it really would. It would depend on the facts. I think the nation has been waiting for a long time for a definitive view, opinion, may not be the definitive answer, the definitive opinion on collusion. And we still don't have that, right?
If Mueller finds strong evidence of presidential misconduct, criminal misconduct, abuse of power, what should Mueller do?
My own view is the president can be indicted, but that's not the Justice Department's view, and that's not a partisan view. And so I think it then becomes an issue for after the president leaves office, in terms of the possible criminal approach, and then a judgment as to what, if anything, needs to be reported to the House of Representatives, to Congress more generally, not to the House.
So in other words, a possible indictment after the presidency or impeachment during the presidency.
Those are the 2 avenues that I see.
Hello, it's Colin Quinn. I'm here in New York City, which I've been a lifelong resident of New York City. There have been a lot of changes, most of them horrible, obviously. When they put a Domino's pizza in Brooklyn in the 90s is when I tapped out emotionally. So we're here to talk about another iconic New York thing, which is the New York City yellow cab, which are now in danger for the first time ever because of Uber, Lyft. You may have heard of these organizations. I'm trying to find out if this is something that can be fixed or if it's just the end. Sometimes it is just tough shit. There have been 8 cabbie suicides over the past year in New York City. The most recent one came last Wednesday. There's real fear from these guys about whether they can make a living. Hey.
How you doing?
How are you?
Hi, how are you? Good?
Hello. How are you?
Fine, thanks. You, how you doing?
Good, I'm Colin. All right.
My name is Muhammad Ali Ivan.
Muhammad Ali? I've heard that name before. And you're from Romania?
You know, I was born in Transylvania, so I'm Dracula's land.
Oh, nice. Do you think Dracula was based on Vlad the Impaler, or do you think he was based on just that one person that has to drain the energy out of every room? For the last 84 years in New York City, to pick up a passenger on the street, you needed a medallion, literally a medal, bolted onto the hood of your yellow cab. And supply was limited, which made hailing a cab a nightmare at rush hour. But it also made being a cabbie a great middle-class gig, and immigrants flocked to it. But like everything else in this miserable world, it came with a price.
In 1999, I saw the price is 125,000. I had some money saved, but it was not enough, to buy a medallion. So I got a second mortgage. So I had my own car, my own medallion, and my own business.
Medallion is only your own business.
And so then 2014, Uber Lyft shows up.
Listen, that Uber came into play was a great thing. Yellow cab didn't want to go everywhere too. We must
That's right,
say
of course.
And at a certain time, you couldn't even find a yellow cab. From a rider perspective, it's 1,000% better. If you were black and you're trying to get a cab in the city, you're in trouble.
Right.
And you don't want to go to Brooklyn.
So how has it changed to be a cab driver in New York since Uber? Like, what did you notice early? Like, did you notice suddenly there was less people on the street or less?
Yes, I noticed this. Before Uber show up, I used to have like 3.6 passenger an hour. Now I have less than 3. I have 2, sometimes even less. I have a budget which I have to make weekly and monthly.
Right.
So if I don't make it one day, I can recover. But if I don't make it in 2 days, well, I'll never recover.
By 2018, Uber, Lyft, and the rest of them had flooded New York City with 80,000 cars that could be virtually hailed anywhere in the 5 boroughs.
It's going down day by day, we just wandering around, circling around, sometimes hours and hours.
Like, would you say you make 50% less now?
About 35%. I don't know what to do because the yellow is not providing enough to make living. So all the drivers, they got very hard hit.
Yeah. What I didn't understand, that they will come in and cut the prices. So that's where the game was lost. And Uber was able to do that because they have no expense whatsoever.
And they don't pay the city.
They don't pay nothing.
That's the weird part, right? They don't pay the city anything.
They don't pay nothing. I'm paying all the expense the taxi and limousine want me to pay in the state.
Not only did drivers' pay fall through the floor, but it took the value of the medallions with it. The price of a medallion crashed from the peak of over $1 million to now it's less than $200,000. Smartphones had made the exclusive rights of picking up hails close to worthless.
The medallion owners, the fleet owners, they got hard hit. They still have to pay off the medallion.
Yes.
Cannot get out because you already put it so much, $100,000, your life saving, you already put it out.
Yeah.
It's like, the big fat rat stuck in some snake's mouth, he can't swallow it and he can't spit it out.
My best friend, Nicanor Kishore, which I knew him for more than 30 years, he was 65 and he was about to retire. He was, worried he will retire and he will not going to be able to pay his utility bills, like water and sewer, electricity, gas, property tax, and this is true.
Do you think the city owes the yellow cabs anything?
The city of New York owns to the yellow taxi the exclusive rights what they sold me. They sold me.
So in the contract it says?
City has the responsibility to protect the value of the taxi medallion.
Ah.
Okay, come up to the table, buy the medallions, and I'll give it to you.
The city finally responded.
But it's time for the big corporations to take a back seat and for working people to take the wheel.
For now, they promised to get drivers better wages and to put a freeze on giving any new licenses to drivers who get hailed by phone.
These people can go back to his previous job, okay? They've been washing the dishes before they come in driving Uber, okay? They can go back over there.
If yellow cabs are gone, it would pain me.
I feel the same way.
I felt bad when OTB was gone.
Oh, God.
When OTB left, I was like, that's the end of New York.
Yellow cab, I don't think is die that easy, okay? Yellow cab will live, be no go nowhere.
But if history tells us anything, it's that cheap and easy usually wins. It kills me to say this, but it might just be too late to step in and save the yellow cab. I mean, nobody really shed a tear over Blockbuster when Netflix took them out. What do you think is going to be the future of the yellow cabs?
Future of the yellow cab is the junkyard, because we won't be able to compete longer.
Holy shit. The Sailor's Time. Oh my God. Kind of a hot jam.
My credit card didn't go through. I'm balling, I feel like I'm Goku. Balling, I feel like I'm Goku. Balling, I feel like I'm Goku.
All right. There is no doubt in my mind that they had an enjoyable time in the studio when they made that song. Who's that?
Jaden Smith.
Oh, really? Interesting. It's clearly like contemporary influences in both the vocal and in the beat, but well executed. That was a jam. I'm not taking it back. I'm on record liking that. I liked it. All right, an instrumental. A little bit surprised by that. At first it began like this is like a sort of a singer-songwriter coffee house song. Then it came in with these bongo-y elements, like someone had old effects pedals somewhere in Williamsburg. That's a fine jam. I was expecting someone to sing at me, but they're just gonna sail away on that. It's all good.
I wanna let you inside. Oh, heaven knows I've tried. I wish that I can let you love. Wish that I can let you love me.
That is a well-executed R&B love jam. Not my lane. I'm not looking for that on the radio. If someone said that is a big hit R&B jam on the radio, I'd be like, I don't doubt that. Big kind of 90s, 2000 active rock production to it. It's like in the softer vein, maybe going for a little wider appeal there.
It was Dan Reed Network.
Holy shit, the Dan Reed Network? I was a fan of his back in the 80s and the early 90s, where he was the ethnic Bon Jovi. Similarly, devastatingly handsome and sort of swam in the same musical waters as Bon Jovi, and the power balladry of it. It all comes together.